Okay, so we are going to get started, and welcome to J150, Introduction to Criminal Law. This is our open house, and I'm just going to spend some time sharing with you expectations of what everyone should be doing. So I so far have one student who has some issues, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, this is our course home, and our course home provides information that I'm going to go over with you to get you familiar with it. First thing I have in terms of information is who I am. My phone number is listed here, and then there's a note under instructor information reminding you to feel free to email me, text, or phone me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. I don't just put that on as a joke. I mean it. Students have contacted me, and I respond back pretty fast. So, and if you do text me, please include your name and include your phone number when you do text me so that you'll be able to. So, if you could mute your mic, if you can mute your mic. Can you mute your mic? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to mute your mic. Let's see. Okay, you're muted now. Okay, so now let's get started. I'm going to share this screen again here. And so now I'm sharing the screen, and you can see the course home. When you first open up your course module, it tells you who I am as your instructor, the phone number, and it tells you a little message that says, and it means what it says. It's not just something I threw out there. Feel free to email me, text me, phone me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. That means you can reach out to me. I will respond back, like maybe some people might respond to me right now, but while I'm in a lecture, I will not. I will respond back to them later. But anyway, I respond back. And when you do text me, make sure you include your name and the course that you're in and the section, because some of the classes I have, even though in this course I only have one section, it's okay, but I have a couple other courses. Then there's a reminder. There's a reminder in your assignment. This is not in the rubric, which I shared with you, and I'm going to also point out to you again the rubrics. Reminder, you are required to conduct research for all written papers. That means the textbook is not the sole source. You will lose 2 points. Now, that's not on a rubric, but that is a reminder to you, and it's here, and then you'll see it one other place. And I also remind you that all written assignments should be in APA format. That means citations in the body of the paper and references at the end, not or, but both. Now, I've included some links down here to help you if you run into a problem. One of your first courses of action, of course, is me, but then you have your advisors. And then I have some other sources. If you need help, there are what we call peer mentors. Peer mentors are students who are peers like you, and they've been in the program a while, and they can help guide you through it. And you could click on this link, and it will open up to peer mentors. The next one is student success. Gives you a guide to help you with student success. The next one is Library Learning Center questions. That will help you a whole lot. They can help you with your research. And then there's a writing guide that helps you with your writing. And then there are resources for the Library and Learning Center. So you want to use these links, and don't be afraid to click on them. I won't click on, well, I'll just show you how it works. So if I clicked on this, it will actually take me right to it. And it will tell me what peer mentors do, and it explains it. And it explains the difference between the peer mentor and a tutor, so that you can determine which one is best for you. But these are resources that help you as students when you run into problems. So I'm going to come out of that. Whoops, shouldn't have done it that way. So I got to go back. I got to go back to that. Let's see. Got to go back to that. I forgot how sometimes you hit these things. So I got to log back into Blackboard. Give me a minute here. Okay. So then I'll go back into our course. Okay. Now, and you can see that. You should be able to see it anyway. Just to be safe, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, there it is. And so anyway, so we're back where we were before. So now I want to switch, and then also I want to go down and remind you, obviously you know this because you're here, but and telling you about the open house today, and reminding you that live lectures will take place starting with next week. Now, your live lectures will go longer than an hour because we usually have 2 modules to cover, or rather 2 chapters to cover. But I will promptly cut off at 10, regardless of where I am, and that begins April 11th. And you should be aware that you can know by even weeks. Week 2, which is next week, week 4, 6, 8, and 10, that's when your lectures will take place. Okay? And the lectures will be archived, but I encourage students to come in and be at the live lectures. There's another resource here that I want to bring to your attention, that if you click on this link, it brings up a PDF document, which I'm going to show you. And it tells you also some of the same things that you saw earlier. And we call it the 5 fingers approach, your advisors, the home page for the library and learning, the student success, and answers. You might want to just download and copy that one there, okay? So I'm going to close that one. So then we also have the writing process and APA assistance as well. So these are things that guide you, that you have. You must learn these to apply them well in your writing. So now let's get right into the welcome announcement, which those of you who saw that earlier, and it reminds you of things that will help you. Check the announcements. I have students that don't check the announcements. It is important that you check the announcements because it tells you what's going on. You should post an introduction in the student lounge, which I did, and you've seen it. And then check your mail. Check your course mail regularly. We're going to go over the syllabus today. We're going to go over the calendar. And then if you have any questions related to the course that someone else might need answers to, not something of personal nature, you can post it in the general course questions, which is under the discussions. I'll show you where that is. And then there's resources to show you valuable information. Now, I've already shown you some of the ways to get resources that I've embedded in the classes because some students don't use those resource tabs very well. And then finally, I remind you about APA and about when our lectures take place. And so anyway, so you make sure you want to read the announcement. The announcement for this week, which is to remind you of what your assignments are for this week and what your topic is, what chapters 1 and 2. By the way, I did email you PowerPoints and some additional information, the same thing that I'm going to show you again tonight, but I send those out every week, even on weeks when I don't have lectures. So I'm not going to go over chapters 1 and 2 today, but next week I will go over chapters 3 and 4. what is the criminal law and criminal procedure? How does a crime become a law? These are things that you need to read. They're not written assignments. Then it tells you about the lectures that begin next week, a week from today. Then your discussion assignment tells you the topic, and then it reminds you that your initial post is due tonight, which is Tuesday night, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, and reply post Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then your written assignments, in addition to the discussion, is the representation of an indigent, the quiz, and then your first course project. And it's called the introduction. You'll complete that this week. It will be due this Sunday coming up. And so we're going to go over the course calendar in a minute. And then this reminds you about this issue here of the open house. And then finally, every week you're going to see me remind you to start strong and finish strong. And then adversity is a springboard to success. At the end of this, I will share with you why I say that. Okay? If I forget to, remind me to do so. So now, let's go into the syllabus. I want you to see the syllabus. Let's go over the syllabus. You should look at the syllabus because it gives you also, again, my name, my phone number. Now, this is not really my email, but this is how they have it in here. My email is usually without a 2, but if you use the course mail, they use this to guide it to the course mail. Again, I remind you what I said earlier about all assignments, losing 2 points, and about the requirement for APA citations. So moving on down, the text is Shive and Shive. It is one that you have access to on an electronic basis. And the course requirements involve your discussion posts. And now when you do your discussion posts, I did send you a rubric, and I'm going to share with you the rubrics in a little while. But make sure that your discussion posts are thoughtful, detailed, not very yes or no, or I like your post. And you know when your post is supposed to be posted. I already told you, initial post on Tuesday nights by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and Saturday nights. Now that's the way it's going to be all the way till we get to week 11. I won't go into that now because we're a little ways away from there. Okay, and then make sure that when you do your discussions that you respect people, respect their positions even if you don't agree. Oftentimes students will post that I don't agree with, but I ask them to support their positions and be able to provide some details in their discussions. Some people use citations and references. I am one who are not that dogmatic in terms of that with the discussion forums. You can, that's good. Again, reminding you of the APA format. You want to go over that and look at that carefully. Now, again, I already told you about the discussion posts and when they're due. Now, this course requires you do your own readings. I give you a schedule, discussion posts, your written assignments, and then course projects. Now, you will be aware of the fact that course projects are not, you're going to have only 6 of them out of the 11 weeks. 5 weeks you will not have them, and we're going to go over how that works in a minute. You think about your course project, you think about one project. Actually, this comes in stages, and each one is graded independently, and you will see how that works. So how do you get your grades in this course? For points, 110, you get a total of 10 points for each post. 5 points for each post, initial post and reply post. So if you multiply 10 by 11, you'll come to 110 points, which represents a little over 10, almost 11% of your grade. Written assignments are 220 because you get 20 points for each written assignment. Every week you will have a written assignment. Listen to me good when I say that. It's called written assignment. And you will conduct research and follow the requirements of the written assignment. Also, when you do your written assignments, make sure that you use Grammarly. And Grammarly is very important because I look at Grammarly to give me an idea about how much of your critical thinking. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But the key thing is that what we want you to do in all your written assignments, and all your professors should provide this information to you, is that we don't want just the copying and pasting of information. We want, and you get credit for it, but we also want to see your analysis. We want your thoughts. We want your pros and cons about some of the things that you run across. If you make a statement, support your statement. Explain so that I will know that you're trying to make a point. Remember, in an educational institution, the person reading it should be as if they are talking to you so that they can get a clear understanding. Make sure that when you do your written assignments that you satisfy the pagination requirement. Most of your written assignments are going to be 2 to 3 pages. I think there's one at the very beginning that is 1 page, but most are going to be 2 to 3 pages. And what that means is that it is believed that in order to complete the assignment properly, that it will take that as a requirement to provide a good paper. Then you have your course projects. Now you notice this, 600 points, and that's a lot. Look at how much of that. This is because you have 6 course projects. You're going to have one in week 1. I think it's week 1. I think week 3, 4, 5, 6. No. Week 1, week 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I think. No. Forget that. I'm doing it off the top of my head. You'll see. But remember, these are 100 points each, over half of your grade, over half. And then each week, you will have a quiz. Your quiz will consist of 10 questions. I recommend to all students that you do your quiz at the end of the week so that you will have digested all the information. There are a lot of terminology issues in law. I am a retired lawyer. I was a criminal lawyer. I did other areas, but criminal was my big area. And this course, I could teach it blindfolded because of all the years that I studied and the 3 years of law school that I had at Northwest University School of Law. And that was a long time ago. 1978 is when I graduated from law school and then continued to practice, and now I'm enjoying teaching it. So notice it's only 10.6 like your discussion, but don't underestimate them. They are timed. As soon as you start it, you're not going to be able to look up stuff. You shouldn't be, because the academic integrity policy requires you to have your books and everything closed when you do this. You're on your own. But the total is 100%, adding all of these points. Now, the calculation is like this. I want most of my students to be in the top 4 categories. A plus, A minus, B plus, and B minus. But never call me and ask me what does it take to get a C in your class. I will not answer you. I don't answer that question for students because the fact that I don't believe in mediocrity. I teach my students to perform at their highest level because you need to get that as a habit. The way you succeed in climbing up the ladder in the professions that you go into is by being better than average. And so you want to develop that as a habit. So don't ask me. I have students that come to me all the time. One student asked me, what does it take to get a D? And I told him, I'm not answering that question for you. I refuse to answer it. And most instructors who understand the reason why, and the deans have supported me, and he says, you're right, Professor. You don't have to teach a student how to be mediocre or how to just barely get by. That's a bad practice. I didn't operate that way, and I don't expect you as students. I expect you to be A and B students, okay? I will respond to all course messages within 48 hours. I always do this because I hate to have my emails full. I gave information on the syllabus about myself. I am conducting a lecture. Now, it says that I'm to conduct a synchronous learning session sometime during the quarter. That means this, guys. Today, the open house could be the requirement that you never have any live lectures from me, and I will have satisfied that requirement. But I don't operate that way. I always go above that. That is why I do lectures, even when students don't show up, or one or two students show up, I still conduct the lectures as if the room is full of students, because I want the students to be able to have more contact with me, because I believe when you have more contact with me, that you can be more successful. So I voluntarily, because it is not required in the 11-week course for me to do a lecture every week. I used to do them every week, but it was wearing me out because nobody was showing. So now I decided to do every other week, starting with week 2, and that's why you get 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. I'm going to do a lot of talking today. Sometimes I will be asking questions. I will ask questions after a while. I'm trying to keep you within the hour here because we have a lot of information. If I'm going faster, you can always, you'll have the archive. You can go back and you can look at it. And then I will actively facilitate class discussions as well. When communicating with me, please include your first and last name, as well as the course title. You don't have to put the number in the communication, and that's for if you use text me. Some people even inbox me on Facebook. I have had students who join in with me on Facebook. I can Facebook, if you want to send me a friend request, it's Richard Wright, JD, and then I will look at it, and then I'll say if I know you, and then if I reject you, that might be because I don't know who you are, but if you send me a note saying, oh, I'm one of your students, then I will accept it. Let's talk about transferable skills. In the course of attending this school, this college, Rasmussen, says that we want to make sure that you have the following, what we call transferable skills. And what that means, these are skills that we want you to participate in while you're in classes and take those and transfer those to your professions. That's why we call them transferable skills. So what we're doing is we're not really trying to be tough on you. We're just preparing you for what we know that the employers are going to require of you. They're going to require you to have good communication skills. That's why you do a lot of reading and a lot of writing. It is very important. And students have said, oh, there's a lot of assignments and written. Listen to me. The reason why you become what you become is because of the fact that you find yourself in the situation where you are able to be successful and to be able to be leaders in your field. Therefore, you know more information than even the average person does. That's how I became successful. But communication. So I love to write. I love to read. My critical thinking. Critical thinking involves taking the processes of the assignments and being able to elaborate on them in written form and in oral form. Answering a question so that you can let the instructor or whoever is asking the question understand that you know how to apply the information. We don't want you just to gather a bunch of information. We want you to be able to take that information, make it a part of you, and then regurgitate it back to us with information that lets us know that you understand what you read, what you researched and studied. That's kind of a short form of critical thinking. You will discover that in the way that you will operate, it should become second nature, like breathing after a while. So as a lawyer, critical thinking is natural for me. I know how to take a source. If I want to get a point made, I'll go get a source to support my position, then explain and connect the two together in my words, in my thoughts, in my understanding, and then with my application. That's critical thinking. And then, of course, digital fluency, well, teaching you how to use digital systems. I'm going to be 67 May 3rd. People are surprised not tell them that. But when I came into school, we didn't have any of this stuff. We had books. We were physically in the classroom. We didn't have e-books. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have Android pads. We didn't have cell phones. We had none of this stuff. But now we're in an age where if a person my age can become proficient at it, you guys coming along as millennials and as other generations that are coming along younger now, you're learning how to apply it because we're in a digital society. You will find that you will be in conference calls frequently in your work. You will find that you'll have to learn how to use PowerPoint. You'll have to learn how to use Outlook. You'll have to learn how to use Word and other various systems. But digital fluency is so important in today's society. So we start you in this school. We're online. So you're going to really learn digital fluency. Diversity. Oh, I can't say enough about diversity. In the criminal justice profession, diversity is so important. I talk about diversity a lot not in this class, but I talk about it more in another class I teach. But the point of the matter is we must respect the positions of others. We must respect the backgrounds that we come from. We come from different ethnic groups, different cultures, different races, different religious beliefs. And we need to be able to tolerate and understand. Now, we also need at the same time respect another person. We don't want to offend people, but we don't want to use abusive language, not poor grammar, of course, but I mean like I've had students to use profanity, and I said no, we're not preventing that. That is not acceptable at all, and so recognizing the fact that we teach you in the school to operate that way with each other as students so that when you're operating on your jobs, and many of you already work, so you know what I'm talking about. And then teamwork. There's no Lone Ranger stuff. If you work in teams, you're going to find that your workforce is going to put you in teams. Now, I would like to, in my lectures, include teams. Unfortunately, because of the poor attendance to lectures, I'm not able to do that. But I would put you in groups and have you discuss different issues, and then we would come together, have peer sessions. But I end up doing almost a straight lecture because of the way that students attend. Of course, ethics. We want you to be very ethical. If you are not ethical, you will end up finding yourself on the short end of the stick. You will violate the rules and policies. You will not conduct yourself in a professional fashion. And you oftentimes, when you're unethical, you either are dismissed from employment and or find yourself with some incarceration or a criminal record. So we teach you to be ethical. I've taught ethics in criminal justice. I've taught ethics in medicine. I've taught ethics in business. And then also because I am a minister or pastor, I operate not to force you to take my position on the beliefs, but also my approach is always going to be on an ethical basis. And ethics are so important for us to operate in our society. Professional responsibility: follow the rules and regulations of your institution and organization. And then information literacy: be aware of how to find things, research, how to discover things. We provide all of that. So students are going to be given the opportunity to demonstrate these in a number of courses, but I always share it with my students. Your attendance: I'm not going to talk to you about that because you can read that. That's self-explanatory. I do want to talk about the late assignment policy. The late assignment policy says that for every day that you are late with your assignment, you lose 10% of the grade. Now, you should be aware of the fact that once you get past a certain percentage, let's say, for example, you're 5 days late, you've lost 50%. That's a failing grade. Once you get past that. Now, discussion posts conclude at the end of the week. Discussion posts made after the period has ended will not be accepted. They'll be accepted, but you'll receive a 0, and you'll know why, because I'll give you those comments in my feedback to you. Let me give an example. Our discussion forum this week is on Ramadan. This discussion will end Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you submit a post after that, on Sunday, for example, and I'm giving grace points, I'll take a point away. But if you submit it on Monday, I don't care what the reason, you are not going to receive any credit for it, and you're going to receive a 0. And you cannot do, don't ask me about makeup assignments or those things. I have over 80-something students in 5 classes, and I have to make sure that I have some time myself as well. But the point of the matter is that these requirements are there. Now, in some cases, labs and exams, the instructor lets you know about those activities before. So, okay, now, but here's what I want to point out to you about the late work. If you commit late work, I will allow you the time to do it under extenuating circumstances, and I will not penalize you. But if you set a pattern of that, and I see that, then you're going to get heavily hit with it. You're going to get hit with it. So why are we so tough on deadlines? Think about it. When you get an employer situation, if you have a deadline, you got to meet, you got to meet. I was a defense attorney many years. Let's say I had to go to court on a client, and I had to have what I needed in court that day. I go into court and I say to the judge, I need a continuance. I'm not prepared. And the judge says, no, you've had time, Mr. Wright. Therefore, you're going to have to proceed now. And you won't be ready. Well, you knew before that you had a deadline. And I burned the midnight oil many a times. And I tell students, don't be afraid to do that. You only got 24 hours in a day. Measure them out properly. But as a faculty member, this line here says instructors may waive the late penalty or time in extenuating circumstances as determined by the faculty, which means I'm the one who decides that. But if I don't know, oh, Professor Wright, such a thing happened, and I didn't let you know, I didn't want to bother you. That's shame on you, because then you're going to run into problems in that situation. So what's going to end up happening here is that I'm going to see your pattern. Now, there have been some situations, students have had really tough situations. We had some students who had tornadoes in their areas, power outages. We've had people to lose relatives, close relatives. I had a student who, in the middle of the course, she lost her father. I mean, she was in the lecture, and she left the lecture, and then later on I found out. Well, I called her. She was surprised I called her. I didn't just email her, and I talked to her. And I gave her my condolences, but at the same time, I let her know, hey, look, relax. Don't get stressed out about this class. We're going to put together a plan to help you get back. But you go through the process that you need to go through in terms of dealing with your loss and your grieving. I am a human being. We know stuff happens. We know people have families, they have children who get sick, they got all kinds of things. But I need to know. I'm not going to be trying to figure it out. You need to let me know, okay? So regarding late assignments, I will work with you. Let me know. Shoot me an email, text me, or even call me. It doesn't matter, either one or the other. Oh, I didn't want to bother you. That's where you messed up. Incomplete, we are way away from that at the end. You need to read the incomplete policy, but you go over a lot of that with your advisors. Now, I want to take a few minutes to go over the academic integrity policy, particularly with cheating and things like that. Plagiarism. Now, when you conduct your research and you use Grammarly, and you should be familiar with using Grammarly, I encourage every student in my classes to run their papers through Grammarly, but make sure when you run your papers through your Grammarly account that you check the box for plagiarism. If you see that the percentage is high, then you're going to lose points for that. Sometimes it's enough points to cause you to fail the assignment because of that. Now, what I will do is I will look further at it. But when I keep, and then if I see you continue to have a problem, I'll tell you to get in touch with a tutor. Set your appointment up with the tutors. We have great tutors, student tutors, and you go through Tutor Match, and you go through that process of getting those tutors. And those tutors are well trained to help you in that area. But it's very important, very important. I can tell you I had students many a time says, oh, I use my own words. I say, yeah, but what you did was you took a few of your words and threw them in with the material that you got. You would then paraphrase it adequately. Or if you don't give credit, you're going to lose points for that as well. So it is very, 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 very important. I don't like to report students for plagiarism. I have been told that there are students who are using websites to get their papers from, and they'll use them, or they'll go to former students and get their papers. Not a good idea, because it will catch up with you. Trust me. Trust me. And we run it through a system, and we can check. And you can end up being dismissed from the school. It gives you the requirements for that. So that's it on the syllabus. We got about 14 minutes left. So I want to now go to my week 1 assignments. Let's take a look at them. So let's first look at the assignments. The assignments every week are given. Now, this particular assignment is the only one that allows 1 page. I think I'm looking at it in here. The requirement, it tells you usually how many pages are required. I know this one should have 1 page. Drew. Argue in, okay, in no more than 1 page. There we go. So you got some guides in here to help you with this paper. It's a 1-page paper. You can do longer. It's okay. But this is the only time you will see that in this course, okay, is a 1-page paper. And you're going to have citations, references, and your cover page. Now, in a minute, I'm going to go over and show you the rubrics. Now, this is your course project. I get calls every quarter from students about this project introduction. It is requiring for you to do a 2- to 3-page paper applying these terms: indictment, speedy trial, prosecutor, public defender, plea bargaining, jury trials, and then to indicate the difference between state and federal court. You're going to take these terms and apply it to the fact scenario that you have given. And you're going to define these terms. Give references and citations and references at the end to the sources that you use to provide the definitions and information about it. Don't just tell me an indictment is blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear that. I want to know where you got that information from, and then I want you to apply in this case. Where does the indictment fall into this? Write about it, right? Apply those things and connect the dots. A cover page is required. Students will always call me and say, do I just write these terms? No, I already just said it. You define them, and then you apply them using critical thinking again. This is a 2 to 3 page assignment, or you can go longer, I don't care. And then your discussion post is concerning this issue, okay? And then, of course, you have your quiz. All ready? Now, let's go back to the lesson. Now, the lesson content will just give you kind of tells you what our objective is for the week's assignment. It will tell you, too, again, a summary. Your reading is chapters 1 and 2. And then, what is criminal law and procedure? How does a crime become a law? These are not assignments. These are not written assignments, but these go with reading and help you to understand the module. In your written assignment, I just told you about that, your course project, then your discussion post, and then your quiz. Don't worry about that tutoring support comment there. That's not an assignment. But if you go down further, you will see what I'm talking about. It tells you what is criminal law and procedure, and it gives you some terms that you need to be familiar with. You need to take time to go over them. Then there's a little thing that you do. It's a good little exercise. The exercise gives you the opportunity to take these. For example, the constitutional distribution of government power and responsibility between the national government and the states. You want to take a guess as to which one of these it is? What the answer is? The constitutional distribution of government power and responsibility between the national government and the states. There's really two or close to it. You can type it in, and I'll see it. You want to take a shot at it? It's okay if you get it wrong. You want to try this one? That's not it. That's what people pick all the time. This is it. That's it. Federalism. Federalism. The separation of powers is there. So you click on evils in themselves, such as murder. There we go. I know the answers. So you go to them. The doctrine of deciding cases based on precedent. Retroactive laws that criminalize action. When you see the word retroactive, that means after the fact. It's an ex post facto law. A formal document handed down by the grand jury. Lawyers appointed by the president, U.S. attorney. A formal entry by a prosecutor who declines to proceed. It's called no prosecution or nolle prosequi. It means they're not going to prosecute. Yeah, well, the reason why I'm too fast for you is because I know it. I remember I got a whole lot of years of experience. That's why I'm here. But the point of it is I'm showing you, this is normally, yeah, I hear you. It is intended to help you. You do this on your own. And I'm just showing you how you can benefit from it. Some people say, oh, it's not an assignment, I'm not going to deal with it. No, And this one, of course, is only one left. So that was just, I'm showing you little things that you can do to help you. And by the way, that little exercise I just did will help you with the quiz. All right, let's go down. Now, here we go. Now, for the project introduction, be aware, remember I told you at the beginning, and those of you who came in later, that you will not have projects every week because you get 600 points if you go back and look at your syllabus. Week 1 is what you're going to be doing with that assignment I just told you about, that 2 to 3 page. Articulate the foundations of the criminal justice system. That's what we're really doing in that assignment. That's the title of it. And then you won't have one in week 2. You'll have one in week 3. And then the last 4 weeks of the quarter. So weeks 4, 5, 6, and 7, you will not have the project. You will have just the written assignments, okay? But in each of these, you want to make sure that you do these, okay? Now, again, they added this in here to help you. School of Justice Studies Tutoring. I already talked to you about it. And it tells you in there, this is something new that is added. This is awesome. This is great. This is actually something that really will help you guys, help you to get a tutor and explain to you. Takes you to our School of Justice Guide, which I can't say it. School of Justice Studies Guide, which we covered earlier. How to make an appointment with a tutor. Students, I don't need a tutor. Guess what? If you're running into a problem and I see a pattern, I'm going to say, get a tutor. I had a student tell me one time, I don't have time to get a tutor. I says, you are spending good money for education. You want to maximize your profits. And I use business terms because it applies. You're spending good money. You want to make sure that you maximize your profits. And don't be afraid to ask for help. That is one of the, let me tell you, yours truly, I ask for help all the time when I need it, okay? And, pride gets in the way of people. Oh, they're students like me, so forth, so on. They're trained in certain things. And then also, I will tell you this. Students that are really good, they'll ask us from the Library and Learning Center, can we recommend some students who could be student tutors? And it helps you with your tuition and other things as well. It's a good resume builder, too, as well. So take a look at that. That's why I'm telling you, don't just look at what the assignments are. Look at the things that will benefit you in the module, okay? And then it goes back to saying your requirements must, it didn't say should, must be 2 to 3 pages long and include both in-text citations and reference pages in APA format. Okay, now, that's week 1. Every week, you're going to run across the same thing. Now, I will say this to you so that you know. Does anybody know what week that the midterm or final exam takes place in this class? Melissa's questions. She don't know. Who else said they don't know? You thought week 10. Okay. Not sure. Okay, here's the answer. There is no midterm. There is no final exam in this course. I know, I hear the applause already. I hear you. Yes. That is why I'm stressing to you, you get it, it's almost like you have a test every week, your quiz. Score as high as you can, guys, so you can get those points, even though it's a low percentage. But you don't have to worry about a midterm or final in this class. So with other classes you have, you might have them, but you do not have it in this class. And so students say, well, there's a lot of written assignments. Yes, we take that into consideration, or I didn't, but whoever built the course, but it makes a lot of sense to me that you don't have it. Now, if you want to have a final exam or midterm exam, in all your courses, you need to drop this class, okay? I'm saying that jokingly, okay? And say, Professor Wright says, I need to drop this class. Get the whole statement. I'm saying it in jest. That's one of the things I always ask all of my students. They don't know. They think in week 5 and week 10. No, there is none, okay? So now, having said all of that, I want to bring you back to the final thing that I want to show you. We're running out of time, but I'm going to go a little bit over if you want to hold on, because this is going to benefit you, because this will give you your expectations for this course. Let's go to the, sorry about that little dinging thing. Here we go. I want to go to my course calendar. Your course calendar tells you everything that you need to know, starting from your reading assignment, to your initial post, to when your open house is, to when your reply post is due, to when your written assignments are due. And it explains them to you and lays them out. All the way through to the whole course, everything is laid out for you. So you have access to your calendar, and it's in there all the way through to week 11. So your calendar covers what I just talked about when your reading assignment, your initial post, your reply post, your written assignment, the quiz, and that. So that's very, very, very important. Now, let's go back. I want to share some stuff with you here. Again, I want to remind you guys of this information that I'm about to share. Did you guys get my emails that I sent to you with your rubrics and the PowerPoints? Good. 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 Okay. So important, because I send those out to you. Students that I didn't get a chance to check them. And I suggest you save those rubrics. But just so you'll be familiar with them, I'm going to take a few minutes just to show you again what they look like. And again, it reminds you this. This goes for each week. Project. Remember what I said. You got 100 points for the project. You're going to lose 5 points if it's less than 2 pages. If you didn't define the various terms in the project, remember I said that earlier, you're going to lose points for that. If you miss one, you're going to start to lose points. Apply the terms to the facts. I told you that. And then identify the state and federal court, 30 points. And if it has, spelling or grammar, APA requirements, citations and references. If you leave out citations or references, you're going to lose 5 points. Now, in addition to this, I already said this earlier, and I incorporate this really pretty much into this last section. It's not in your rubric, but I did tell you about this because it is in your course to remind you that you must conduct research. It is on the first page of the course. You must conduct research for all. Don't use Shibe and Shy. That's not the only. And while I'm talking about resources, never, 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 never use Wikipedia. It is a word-based system, and it can be duplicated by anybody. So anyway, I sent you this rubric, so you have it, but I just want you to show you what it looked like in case you hadn't had a chance to look at it. And it tells you all the way, week 3, and then it tells you your next one is week 8, then week 9, and you go through all the way through 10. So it's week 1, week 3, is week 7, 8, 9, no, wait a minute, it's 6. So it's weeks 1 and 3, and then it's 8, 9, 10, and 11. Those are the ones that you'll have those. And so that's that rubric. Save it. And you know what I suggested to students? And I said this before. When you get ready, before you submit your paper in to me, in addition to have used Grammarly, are you guys familiar with Grammarly? Heather, Melissa, are you familiar with Grammarly? Get used to using it, and use it to check not just your grammar, but the plagiarism. There's a box that you check. It's a check system for you before you submit your paper in to me. The other thing I want to tell you is it's a good idea to have your rubric next to you to remind you. Oh yeah, did I do this? Did I do that? So you can maximize your points. And then remember, never just use your textbook. Never just use your textbook, because if you use your textbook only, then you did not conduct research. And I showed you where that's located. Are you familiar with where I have that located? Remind you that you have your lose 2 points if you don't conduct research. You guys familiar with where that's located? Yeah, it's on your syllabus, and it is also on the home page. I try to make sure that students get it in more than one place. All right. So that is your syllabus. I mean, that's your rubric for this. That's how I grade them. I put them right alongside, and I'm reading your paper. Now, this is for written assignments. Each week, I have the same concept. You go through the same thing, you get 20 points. This is how you get 20 points. And it tells you, you know, what you do automatically if your paper is less than, okay, this is 1 page. So 1 page in length, like I said. But notice this. The rest of them, they're going to say 2 to 3 pages, and you'll lose a point. Somebody said, oh, it's just 1 point. Yeah, but you'll also begin to lose points if you don't cover all of the issues as well. And then your APA requirements are involved there. That's 3 points you could lose for not having your APA right, and then spelling or grammar, you lose a single point. And that goes through every week. Every week, all the way up to week 11, okay? Now, I also sent you, and I didn't post it here, a discussion rubric, and you can look at that as well. But I kind of covered what to expect in terms of the discussion rubric. Now, every week, you will get this. I will send you one of these. This is your PowerPoint. This is an example of what it is. And then I will be lecturing on the PowerPoints and also adding things to the PowerPoint. And you want to make sure that you usually have a saved APA document open. Okay, let me make sure I saw what you said. Let me go because it went away. Usually have a saved APA document, open it and edit. Does it mean it can show up as copy and paste on your end? I don't know the answer to that question. If you have an APA document saved, you know, like I said again, and by the way, I see comments privately. Please make sure that you don't do privately. Try to do everyone so that everybody can see it, because it was just like if you were in the class. So, Melissa, yours are privately. Heather, yours are to everyone. But make sure that whenever you set your settings, set them to everyone. But I don't know the answer to that question. You can determine, I won't know if it's copy or paste, but I will tell you if it has too much percentage of plagiarism and Grammarly, then you might have a problem there. Remember what I said, I want the information, but your critical thinking is the thing that you get your grades on pretty much. So, does that answer your question? Okay. So now here's your PowerPoint, and then like I said again, I'm not going to go through and discuss them. This is, you know, an example and so forth, and it goes all the way through. Okay. So that's your PowerPoint, and you get 2 chapters, chapters 2, and then you're going to go over that same information. Now, in addition, I provide you in advance with what we call an outline for each chapter. This is for you. You don't even have to ever look at it. I do recommend you look at it, because when you look at it, you're going to see that it's almost like, we used to have a thing when I was in school called Cliff Notes. And the Cliff Note information, we read the chapter, we read the information, but we didn't have to reread the book. We would go through and we would use this. So I provide this to all of my students extra. A lot of professors don't, but I do. And you'll get that each one. I won't be talking about that during the lectures, but I'm telling you, you're going to get one of these. And it goes on, and it gives outline of the chapter, tells you, you know, what the outline. It tells you some key terms. Now, be aware that most of these key terms, you're going to run across them in your reading anyway. But you're going to be ready with many of these that are going to fit in your quiz. Remember, I already told you, like, some of them that you had here in that little exercise I gave. It will tell you about things like federalism, stare decisis. It will tell you a lot of other terms that, anyway, these are things that you need to be able to, like mala and say, those kinds of things. So it's a good source. So the same thing for the second chapter. You'll have the same information given to you as well. And those are the things that you have. Now, I'm going to conclude in a minute here, but do you have any questions that you want to ask me, either of you? Type it in. No? Okay, remember, change your privately. Everyone. Do our quizzes contain vocabulary words or lecture stuff or both? I covered that earlier, but I'll cover it again. Quizzes contain, I don't write the quizzes. The quizzes don't really, quizzes are primarily from the study material. That's pretty much where it comes from. I'll elaborate on stuff in the lectures to bring to life to you how these things happen. But your vocabulary words are not put in. I do not write the quizzes. And I don't even grade the quizzes. The quizzes grade themselves. It's like any other multiple choice exam. You'll have some examples, 4 given, 2 that kind of like jump out of the box, and then 2 that are close. Okay, does that answer your question, Melissa? Okay, but guys, remember, take yourself off of private. Always send it to everyone so everybody can see it because it benefits everybody. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to go back now to, okay, I'm going to go back to our classroom now. Now, I want to tell you and remind you of this. Going back to course home. I want to remind you that for your announcements at the end, you will see every week adversity is the springboard to success. Now, that is a very important statement. Now, I want you to understand why I say that and why I understand when you want to do something, when you want to accomplish something. Just a little story for you. I'm going to take about 5 or 10 minutes to give it to you, and I'm only going to, you'll know it. You'll know more about me. When I was 7 years old, my dad was murdered, and my dad was murdered in front of my face. The guy that ended up doing it turned out to be, and it happened in the house, was my mother's boyfriend who was living in the house. And my father confronted him, and this man took out a knife in front of myself, who was 7, and at that time 5 younger sisters, and he stabbed him in the forehead. The guy did not go to jail. My father died. He continued to live with us. The man used to beat my mother profusely. on a regular basis, like any of those domestic violence movies, and it was regularly. I mean, the police were at our house almost all the time. And he impregnated my mother twice, and they were both girls. So thus, I had 7 sisters. We moved from the area that we were living in, and this guy continued to move with us. My mother would go to jail, send him to jail, and then go back and get him. It's the pattern of domestic violence. I taught domestic violence as well. And so anyway, as a result of that, where we were living in 1963, I was 13 years old, had just made 13 in May of that year. He murdered my mother. When he murdered my mother, my 7 sisters and myself were brought back to live with an aunt who didn't really want us there, but she kept us for a while, and then another aunt came and took us and had a house built, and we moved into that house. Well, I would find out by the time I'm 14 years old that this man who committed these crimes was going to receive 6 years, or rather 10 years in jail. That's what it was, 10 years. So I said, okay, but then someone brought to my attention that at that time 10 meant 5. And that for good behavior, he could potentially have a year and a half cut off, and he would serve 3.5 years. Well, I was very troubled at that time as a 14-year-old, and I would ask a lot of questions. And the questions I would ask were very serious questions, like, how could that be right? And finally, someone told me that these people called lawyers, attorneys. So I went to school and got a book out of the library, and the book was all about lawyers or attorneys. And I checked the book out and read it overnight. And the next day, anybody I met after that, I introduced myself as Richard Wright, and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. Well, as it was, I ended up at the same time meeting a lady that was involved in communications radio, and I asked her to be my mother. She became my friend, and then speeding ahead, years later, she legally adopted. But this was years and years and years and years down the road. But anyway, in the meantime, when I graduated from high school, my very first job was at a big law firm. I got married right out of high school, worked during the day at the law firm in the mailroom, and then went to school at night. I didn't have a car. I studied on the L train. I studied on the buses. I had to be at work at 8:30 in the morning, and I lived pretty far away from where the school was and work. So I would go to work and get out of work at 4, and at 4:30 I had to be in class. And I'd run across the city of Chicago's loop downtown to get to class. I did this Monday through Thursday. And then on Saturdays I had some classes. Well, I did all of this and then ended up telling the lawyers at the law firm when I got there that I wanted to be a lawyer. I ended up becoming a file clerk in the law firm. They took me up on it. Then I became a law librarian. And then I became a law clerk, which is now called a paralegal because they found out that I taught myself how to do research. Well, in the meantime, I got accepted after Roosevelt University, my degree in political science. I got accepted at Northwestern University School of Law, and that's where I went to my law school. While I was there, I met a judge who was a lecturer, and he became my mentor, and he advised me that if I wanted to learn about the criminal justice system, I became a criminal defense lawyer. And I did. I represented and defended murders successfully. Only cases I could not do were domestic violence cases, and I could not do rape cases because of all the females I had in my life. Right off the bat, I had girls. Years later, now I have boys and girls. So anyway, my point being is that what launched, and then so ultimately I ended up successfully doing that. Then I went to seminary, 91 to 93, for a Master of Arts in Religion. So I ended up practicing law, and then I taught special education later down the road. For a while, I was a part-time police officer. I was a village prosecutor. I was an internal affairs investigator investigating police activities for corrupt police officers. So I did all of that, and I then bring all of this to finally the point where I teach. I've been teaching at Rasmussen since 2011. I taught it residentially first, and then when they went online, then I stayed on with it. I was what they call the state program coordinator for the School of Justice Studies for a year and a half before they changed the roles. So I'm pretty adept at what I do, and I have a drive. And my point to you is that when I say adversity is the springboard to success, I know what I am talking about. So I use that to motivate my students to say, hey, you know what? I'm one who will help you if you really want to help. I will take the time. I will take extra time. I have had extra WebEx sessions with students individually who really had some problems, you know. But thank you, thank you. Yeah, everybody says that. But you know what? I tell people it's okay. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm very, I use the term blessed, but I am a special, unique individual who understands adversity. And I tell you the truth, what I went through, I think was a road to get me to who I am today. And that's why I'm an effective teacher. I'm a sympathetic, empathetic, but I'm tough. And the final thing I will tell you is that teaching criminal justice, many of you will become police officers, parole officers, probation officers, correction officers. I don't want people working in the criminal justice field that I teach not to understand how to do the job right. Because I tell you this, there's another class that I teach on police report writing, communication. I tell my students that as a defense lawyer, I use many loopholes that were left open by poorly trained law enforcement people and representing, and I even represented some of them as a defense attorney down the road at times. The point of the matter is that, thank you, I bring this to my students and say to you guys, understand who's teaching here. I'm not a guy who doesn't understand challenges that you have, but I do understand this, that adversity is the springboard to success. It can take you and it can get you to where you want to go. Almost everybody I know becomes successful because of some experience they had in their personal life. And I just shared that with you so that you'll understand. So with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you guys for coming out. I will be archiving this. Oh, one other thing I got to tell you, and this goes back to something students don't understand. I explained this to them. Your assignments, as far as grades are concerned, like, for example, week 1 assignments are not due to come back to you until you almost out of week 2. They're due by Friday night, that Friday. So let's say, for example, your assignments are going to be completed Sunday. I start grading them. I grade some as soon as I get them. Sometimes I just start chopping them down because I got over 80-something students, and every student should get their assignments back as soon as possible. But I have until that Friday. I usually don't make it that Friday. I usually try to complete them by that Sunday, and sometimes I have to get to that Monday. But the bottom line is that your student said assignments take over a week to get back. Yes, that's true, because of the fact that you got to remember, you think the only thing that I don't have to grade is your quiz. Everything else I have to go through, manually grade it, give you some comments and responses. So bear with me and be patient. And this past quarter, I did pretty well. I think everybody got their assignments no later than that Monday. And still a few students said when they did the critiquing, they said Professor Wright got assignments back a week, 2 days after a week later. And everybody in the administration says, that's great, because understand it. But I always say this at the beginning so students understand, you know. Sometimes students say, well, I need my assignment back before I go to the next one. No, you don't. No, you don't. Everything is independent. There's no continuation of it in this particular course. But I will try to get those out to you. Okay? And that's it. So I'm going to say good night. You guys have a good week. Next week, we will have a complete lecture. I won't be going. I go over what I always do at the beginning of the lecture. At first, I stopped doing it. I go right into the lecture. I don't do that now. I go into summarizing what the assignments are for that week, just to give you some ideas about what to expect. Now, I don't do that on weeks 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. But I do let you know something if I see it coming up. So, but the bottom line is that you will be well informed. And if you have any questions, shame on you if you don't ask me. Even if you ask me, like I said, 2 o'clock in the morning. I may be up, I may not, but then if not, I will answer you back very quickly. Okay, so have a good night. I'm going to end this session.